So polymorphism is one of the concept of object oriented programming, and in that there are two types of polymorphism. One is runtime polymorphism, another one is compile time polymorphism. So the core definition is same function behaving differently based on the situation, right? That is nothing but a polymorphism. So in same concept, like in terms of Java, the way we look at is a same method behaving differently in terms of the situation, right? So there are two ways. One is compile time, another one is runtime. Compile time can be achieved through method overloading. Method overloading happens what? Within the same class. And how does we distinguish method overloading between the methods, like whether they are properly overloaded or not, and they are not duplicate methods? As we are overloading two methods within the same class, how are we distinguishing that the two methods are different? The core definition is the method name should be same, but method signature should be different. Method signature is a combination of method name and parameters. So as method name should be same, so parameters should be different. How they're supposed to be different? What are the points that we need to remember when they are different? One is type of the parameters. Like in one method, if you use int, if you use in another method something like string or float, then those two methods with the same name still can be overloaded, can be mentioned in the same class. Agreed? So next one is, where is the class? Here, right? So next one is order type of the parameters, second one is size of the parameters, third one is order of the parameters. So if any one of them, if you choose one of these and distinguish between the two methods, even though the name of the method is same, we can call it as method overloading. As it is method overloading and you are doing within the class, before creating an object, you can easily distinguish which method is going to be called, right? Here, by looking at this method, by looking at this call, you can clearly say that this is going to be called this method, right? How can we are able to say? By seeing the parameters. So what does it mean? As you are able to distinguish between these two methods at compile time itself, so we call it as compile time polymorphism. The methods are acting differently, depends on the different situation, which means depends on the inputs that we pass, and we are identifying that we can distinguish that while compile time itself, before compile time itself, it is called as a compile time polymorphism. Make sense? Or early binding. So next another kind of polymorphism is overriding. Runtime polymorphism, another kind of polymorphism is runtime polymorphism. Runtime polymorphism can be achieved through overriding. Okay, it's just a overloading and overriding. What is overriding? First and foremost thing is overriding happens between two classes, not within the class. Overriding happens between the two classes. And second point we need to remember is, as it happens between the two classes, we need to have some connection between these two classes. We need to have some connection between these two classes. So that connection can be done through inheritance. Okay, so when there is a connection and when you are using the same method name, okay, when you are using the same method A, class B, there is a method M1 here, and you wrote method M1 here also. So this doesn't, we don't consider it as there is a polymorphism involved here, or method overriding involved here, or method overloading involved here, right? So method overriding comes into picture when there is a relation between these two classes, and if you are using the same method name, then method overriding comes into picture. Overriding comes into picture. So method overriding happens between two classes, and the classes should be in relation using the inheritance concept. Okay, for now the concept that we know through inheritance is extents. By using extents you can achieve simple inheritance, multi-level inheritance. Another one is hybrid inheritance, right? Hybrid doesn't support hierarchical inheritance. Another one is hierarchical inheritance. So these three can be achieved through extend keyword. So you need to have that by using extents you can establish a relation, and if the method name is same between two classes, then we can call it as method overriding. Okay, that is the basic concept. So what is the definition, like, what is apart from the method name being same, is there anything like just like parameters all the same? So in method overloading the parameters should be different, right? The parameters should be different, but in method overriding, if you want to call it as a method overriding, the parameter should be same. The parameters should be exactly same because they are sitting in this different class. So the parameters should be same. So method name should be same. This is what we're talking about. Argument types or parameters should be same. Method signature, that is method name plus argument type. If both are same, this should be same. And return type should be same or subclass with covariant. Same or subclass with covariant. The subclass with covariant, for now leave it as is. In future, if I forgot to mention, just let me know before closing core Java. I'll explain. But for now, assume that the return type should be same. Okay, for now assume that the return type should be same. Okay, and if you use any of these keywords in the parent class, right, when you establish a relation, the one will be become parent, one become child, right? So in that concept, when we use private or when we use static, when we use final in the parent method, then we override. It's not possible. So okay, I'll show it to you, don't worry. And access modifiers like public, private, protected, default, we can use as is whatever it is there in the parent class, or else we can use the, we can increase the scope. Like, if say for example parent is having protected, you can make child class with public. So you can increase the scope. Public has higher scope than protected. Protected has more scope than private. Default is more scope than default. I mean, default is more scope than protected. If you look at here, the other assignment that we did, the other discussion that we had, if you look at here, if we use public, the scope has been high, right? It can be accessible across, so the scope has been high, right? If you use protected, the scope has been high but less than public, greater than default, because using protected you can access a variable or any data across the same package between any classes using the object creation extension, and outside the package also you can create by extending it. Only you cannot do it by creating an object. But in case of default, you cannot access outside the package. And private, nowhere you can access except private. So the highest scope is public. In the same lines, here when parent is using public, you must use public in the child. When parent is using protected, either you can use protected or public, higher scope. Okay, throws also you can explain. For now as is, remember. Okay, method resolution always take care by JVM at runtime. Okay, runtime polymorphism or late binding, dynamic binding. Keep these lines and we'll come back and discuss here. We'll do it. Let's write a class called overriding demo. So I'll take a class, let's say simple example person. Okay, what person can have? A person can have int name, int address, something address, or gender, right? Let's say these two are there, and you can have a method called a public void method 1. I will say I am the person. Okay, so I'll create another class called employee as string, right? Char employee will have what? String name, char gender, and int id, int salary. So as you can see, any employee can be a person also, right? Any employee can be a person. There is no doubt about it, right? So that is where we use the inheritance concept. We can say we don't need to define this. We can simply extends person. So you get to access these two variables as well, right? So you will have another method called public void method 1 SYSOUT. I am an employee. Okay, so now the interesting challenge is, as you are using same method name, are we overriding it here or not? So first thing we need to see, it happens between the two classes, and the classes should be in relation. So they are in relation using the use keyword extends, and then method name is same, method signature, which is there is no parameters, so the method signature, this highlighted one, the method signature is same, and the modifier should be higher or the modifier, if it is public, this should be public, this must be public. If it is, if this one parent is protected, this can be protected or public, right? That is also satisfied. So now we are overriding, we are achieving overriding. So basically what we are trying to do is, let's say a simple concept. We said like a person is having a name and gender, and we call it as I am, you know, if somebody calls him, I am the person, he will say. This is what displays, right? So this is what a person. So as we know very clearly, every employee becomes a person. Every employee is a person. Every student is a person, right? Every soldier is a person. Everybody is a person, right? So they extend the person's behavior so that they can get the name and gender by default rather than defining again. And as this process, as employees clearly can say I am an employee, at the same time I can say I am the person, but at the same time I am an employee as well, right? So he just want to use these two, and he want to override this one, right? If somebody says like, you know, employee, let's say you have another class called student, okay, student person id fee, right? I am student. If you cannot override this method, if you cannot override this method, and if you cannot override this method, sorry, if you cannot override this method in employee and student, then how can you distinguish between employee and student, right? This one also, if you don't have this method, let's say if you don't have this method here, and if you try to run the program, it always display, even if you call it as an employee, then it displays I am the person. Even if you call it as a student, I am the person. But how can you distinguish like this is an employee object, this is a student, right? So they can override certain functionality, they can reuse certain functionality. They are reusing ID, I know, name and gender, but they are overwriting the method. When they are overriding, they are following the Java rules. What and all the Java rules? Method signature should be same, and method return type can be, method return type should be same. What happened? Method return type should be same, and modifier, access modifier is like should be higher or same, should be higher or same. Okay, so as we followed the same rules, and now we can say person and employee, these two in between these two classes, method 1 is overriding, employee is overriding method 1 method, method 1 method employee is overriding that has been there in the person, right? Same case here, student is overriding method that has been there in the person. So this looks good. So now let's say that is called polymorphism. And why we call it as a runtime polymorphism, that is interesting to see, right? So person p equal to new person, p dot method 1. Okay, let's call method 1. Okay, what does it display? What does it display? Come on, I am the person, because you are holding the person object into the person reference variable. That looks good. And let's say what if you do employee equal to new employee, and then e dot method 1. What will it will display? What it displays? I am the person, I am the employee. So this one, this line has been displayed by, let's comment it out. I am the employee. If somebody calls student, it will display I am the student, right? To that extent, it's perfectly fine. So there is one concept. What if subclass object What if subclass object try to hold subclass object? What if superclass reference variable holds subclass object? And next question is, what if what if subclass, don't get confused, okay, subclass reference variable holds superclass object? So before we get into these two lines, let's try to understand one simple thing. Int a equal to 10. Okay, does it give you an error when you type this in Eclipse? Nope, right? Okay, let's say int a equal to 10.10. Does it give an error? For sure it will give an error, right? Why? Here this one works fine, this one doesn't work. Why? Simply focus. Simple rule, right? The RHS, this is RHS, the right hand side one, any mathematic formula, right, should satisfy the definition of left hand side. So the value is of type int or not, then only it can hold that value, then only a can hold that value. Agreed? The value of 10 is exactly int, that is the reason why it can able to hold. Here this doesn't satisfy the int definition. 10.10 is not satisfies int definition. That is the reason when you try to assign, it doesn't accept. So what does it mean? Always RSH should satisfy the LHS definition, then only you can assign a value. Okay, having said that, let's talk about what if superclass reference variable holds subclass object, right? Superclass reference variable is what? Person. So what I am saying is person P equal to new employee. Does it possible or not? Let's see. Same concept we'll use. What is person definition? Name and then gender. Name and gender. Okay. Here employee definition. Person definition is name and gender. Employee definition is ID, salary, name, gender. Right? These four. So name, gender, ID, salary. Now see, does this employee satisfying the whatever the LHS, does the RHS is satisfying LHS or not? RHS is satisfying LHS or not? It is, because whatever the values that has been here has been available here. So it satisfies, right? So that's the reason this concept has been allowed. What is this concept? Assigning subclass object to superclass reference variable. subclass object to superclass reference variable is possible because it always RHS always satisfies the LHS definition, that is child always satisfies the parent definition. Child always satisfies the parent definition. That is the reason subclass always satisfies the superclass definition. So you can assign subclass object to superclass reference variable. So this is possible. We will see. We'll write, right? And the second one, let me write it here before you guys forget. So what we are saying is person P equal to new employee. Perfectly works fine. Okay. Next one. What if subclass reference variable holds superclass object? Now let's start again. What is subclass is employee equal to new person. Okay. Employee definition is what? Name, ID, name, gender, ID, salary. Name, gender, ID, salary is employee definition. What is person definition? It's just name and gender. So this guy is having more. If you want to satisfy this LHS has 4 definitions. If somebody want to, here LHS has 4 definitions. One definition is name, another definition is gender, another definition is ID, another definition is salary. But the RHS is having name and gender. It's simple concept, right? You cannot say everyone as an employee, right? Now I cannot say you as an employee. I can say you as a student, and somebody can say I as an employee. So, but we both are persons, right? We both are persons, but you cannot fit in all the person's properties into employee, right? All the persons in the world, you cannot say, the world is having 6 billion, right? Say, you cannot say 6 billion people as employees, but you can say all the employees that has been there in the world, like let's say 1 million or 10 million or 20 million employees, right? 30 million, 50 million employees. So we can say 50 million employees as a persons. Make sense? Try to sense it. It's not a big deal, okay? But it's an interesting theory if you understand, right? You cannot say every person is an employee, but you can say every employee is a person, right? So always remember, RHS should satisfy the LHS definition. If it is satisfied, then that is allowed in Java. Okay, so having said that, can you able to assign subclass reference variable to superclass object? No, this is not possible. Let's check it out practically. What is that? Employee equal to new person. Nope. What it is saying? Type mismatch. I cannot convert a person to an employee. But this is the same type mismatch we haven't got here. Here it simply understand like, oh, okay, employee has been extended by person, so I can happily accept him as a person because he is satisfying my definition. As an employee, he is having a name, he is having a gender, so I can, that's it. If somebody, my definition is here, my definition of person is, if somebody having a name, somebody is having a gender, then I can say he's a person. Somebody can create a person definition like, he should have 2 legs, 2 arms, and like, eyes, all the stuff, and he should walk, he should see, he should think, he should make decisions, he can drive, These are all the, somebody can define like this. If all these satisfied, then only he can be a person. Somebody can say that, right? Then make sure when you are extending that, your employee should have that behavior. Otherwise, you can't extend it. So how you define an object is very, very, very important. I hope you guys are getting what I'm trying to say. Right? So simple rule. Always remember, don't get confused with the keywords here. LHS should, RHS should always satisfy LHS. And blindly remember, parent can hold child. Child cannot hold parent. In a simple terms, like, if you get confused, if you don't have time to put all this in paper and understand, again, when in the interviews or something, always remember, parent can hold child. Parent can hold child. That's it. Child cannot hold parent. In that line, just remember. So here, parent is person, child is employee. So parent can hold employee object. Makes sense? Okay, so having said that, I'm just moving this piece into below. And we can do skip couple more experiments. Okay. So now when I say P1 dot, you can ask gender, blah, 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 name, you don't get any much problem there. But when you try to method one, right? Which method you are able to print now? What is the value of the method that you are able to print here? Let's resolve this idiot. Before class, I was practicing so that I don't confuse you guys. Okay, this piece also we don't need anymore, right? We understand this piece. That is a regular piece. So now parent is holding child object. Okay. I am an employee. So even though you are calling P1 dot method, ideally which one should call? P1 dot method instance, person reference variable. This method should be called, but as you are holding an employee object, you will get the response of an employee. Okay. Let me say I created a method here, public void simple parent method accessory. Or else let's put readable parent only method. Okay. I am in person class. Okay. I am not overriding this. I am just to override this class. I mean, we are talking about two different concepts. Overriding, I'm proving it. Like, there is, we call it as runtime polymorphism, right? Why do we say runtime polymorphism? That's what I'm trying all the discussion, like reference variables, all the blah, blah, blah stuff. Now, let's say I am not overriding parent only method. I am just overriding method one in the employee. So when I display p1.employee, I'm able to display I'm an employee. I am an employee instead of I am the person, because this method has been override by employee with this method, right? So next one is, let me say p1 dot. Sorry, first thing, did you see the mistake that I did? You should always use small letter, camel case. First letter should be small. Parent only method. P1 dot parent only method. Does it work? Does it displace? Yes, let's see. I am an employee, I am an in-person class. So why you are able to access this guy even though you are not overriding? Because you are extending person. When you are extending person, what happens? All the features that has been here can be available to employee, right? When you extend person, all the definitions that has been defined here available to employee. That is the concept of inheritance. Because of the inheritance concept, you are able to get this. But why you didn't get this? Instead of that, why you get this one is because of the method overriding polymorphism concept. Okay, so next, one more thing, one last thing. I have only public void child only method. I am in employee class, employee child class. Now let's come here and see p1 dot. Can you able to see that method? Parent only you can see, and method only you can see. Method, where is the method? Yeah, method you can see. Method is able to visible. Parent only is visible, but you are not seeing the class child only method. Are you seeing it? You don't see it. Let's say forcibly try to write. What happens? The method child only method is undefined for the type person. You see, you guys getting? See, when you define parent only method and without overriding, when you try to access, you are able to access. But when you define child only method in the child class, when you try to access through parent definition, parent data type, you are not able to access. Because parent doesn't know, parent know about his property, parent know about the property that has been overridden by employee, because he knows method 1 and he knows very clearly that he has been overridden, but he doesn't know about this guy because there is no relation has been defined in the parent for this class, for this method, right? So what another important point is, in superclass reference variable holding subclass object concept, child only methods can't be accessed with parent reference variable or superclass reference, okay, whatever the name you want, okay, super or parent, whatever, superclass reference variable. Go back and try a couple of them. You can sense it, like the more you sense it, like, you know what I'll show you simple example, right? That makes, you know, more common sense way I can tell you. And parent only methods, methods can be accessed with superclass reference variable holding subclass. Agreed? Nice. Why? Because let's say, right, simple. I will say this one as a child only method instead of child only method for the sake of sensing it. Employee salary, and I am saying this one as person behavior. Or let's say study. Okay, study. No study required to be a person. You don't need to study in order to call, in some, if somebody want to call you a person, you don't need to be a student. You don't need to have a degree, you don't need to have a qualification, right? Or like, yeah, simple, that's good, right? Qualification. So no qualification required to be called as a person, to be called as a person. Let's say I'll take this one and override in here. You need to have a bachelor degree to be, you need to have a bachelor degree to be called as an employee. Let's say, okay, bachelor degree and offer. Okay, now employee salary. This is something like thinking person definition is sense. Okay, I'll call it a sense. A person should have a sense. Okay, right. Okay, person should have a sense. Now see, if now while reading you can sense it, right? See, when you try to access a by creating a subclass object employee using the superclass reference variable person. Okay, now you try to call qualification. Qualification for a person is simply no qualification required, but qualification required for employees, you need to have a degree. So you overrided this behavior. In employee class, you overrided the person's definition in employee class because employee required some more qualification. So you modified it, right? But when it comes to sense, when you try to access sense as a person or person data type, you must have, because that is available, right? That is the definition of one of the definition of a person. But when you try to access P1 dot qualification, see P1 has qualification and somebody overridden, I respect that and I'll display whatever the definition overridden that has been done in the employee object I can give you. But yes, P1 has sense. The definition also available in the LHS. But this employee's already definition has been not there. How can he can satisfy? How can he display? How can a person can tell employee salary? Even though you call it as an employee, object is holding the person data type, but it doesn't have that definition with him. How can he display? That is the reason it doesn't allow to access subclass or child class only methods using superclass reference variables. This is very important. Two things you need to remember with all these concepts. Parent can hold child. Child cannot hold parent. And when you create a reference variable through superclass or parent class, you cannot access subclass only methods. You can access any other methods, any other definitions except subclass only definitions. That's it. Now tell me, by looking here, these two lines, I created an employee object and assigned this employee object to P1 because it satisfied person definition, employee satisfied person definition because it extended by a person. Now I am calling P1 dot qualification. When I say which method will be called, you said employee qualification method has been called, right? But based on what you are seeing, by looking at employee object will be created until and unless this object has been created, you cannot say JVM doesn't know whether this one get called or this one get called until and unless object is created, because object creates when? Only in runtime. Object created in runtime, not at compile time. Compile time, what happens? It just looks at, are we following Java definitions or not? Are we following Java standards or not? That's it. If everything looks good, hey, I am ready. I converted into bytecode. This guy wrote a pretty nice, this guy satisfies all the definitions that I have. I'm converting your Java is .java class into .class file. Now it's your responsibility, JVM, it's your responsibility to run this bytecode and execute the program. Then what happens when you trigger run? JVM start creating an objects because it's already compiled very well. So I can simply go ahead and start creating whatever the object definitions that you have defined, that the developer has been defined. In this process, he looks at employee. Oh, okay, he's creating an employee object. Then only JVM get to know you are overriding this method and you need to call this method. So you get to know everything at runtime. In this overriding concept, we get to know only at runtime. So we call it as runtime polymorphism. Hell yeah. Make sense? Perfect. So if you go back here, yeah. So overloading and overriding is a pretty default interview question. Can you explain the difference between overloading and overriding? Simply open this page, read out. Okay, nice. Next topic is super. Super is pretty cool, simple. Let's, before we overriding demo today's class, right? Package, new package, com dot bell dot BATS batch 6 dot day 8. You can drag and drop, that works, just in case you are wondering. And a super demo. Now we saw method overloading, method overriding in between the methods, right? Can we apply the same for constructors? Constructor is what? Constructor is a special kind of method which is with the same name as class name, and it doesn't have any return type. It uses to create the object and initialize the variables. And if you don't define any constructor, by default JVM inserts a default constructor for you. But if you are writing a argument based constructor, then you need to explicitly write default constructor as well. Otherwise you will get an error when you try to create an object with a default constructor. This and all we know, right? So let's write another simple class like in the same lines. Class person animal and class dog, and let's say animal, right? So how do we write a constructor? Simple thing is animal SYSYOT the animal. Okay, so let's go back here. Animal A equal to new animal. Okay, let me run this program. It is displaying as I am the animal because you are trying to call the constructor, right? This will get triggered. Okay, nice. So now I want to write another one called animal string or int weight. Okay, I will call it as SYSYOT. I am the animal with weight, whatever the weight that has been passed. I will write another one, animal string type. SYSYOT and the animal of type, and the animal belongs to category. Now tell me, what are we doing here? What is the difference between these three? All are having the same name, but the type of the parameters are different. One is doesn't take any parameters, second one takes int as a parameter, third one takes string as a parameter. This is called overloading. So can we apply overloading to constructors? Absolutely yes. So overloading can be done for constructors as well, right? That is what we are trying to do, right? If somebody, like, let's say now I am creating another animal, a1 equal to new animal 40. So now when I try to run this program, I'll get two outputs. One is I am the animal, another one is I am the animal with weight 40. And I'll call another one. So you can overload constructors as well, right? And the animal belongs to cat category. So these three different things we can trigger. So constructor overloading can be done, but overriding, can we do the overriding? So what is overriding? Next thing comes into your mind is, what is overriding? Overriding is happens between two classes, and the classes should have a relation. Now I'm going to say here extends animal. Okay, here if you want overriding should happen between two classes and the classes should have in relation. So those two conditions satisfied. Next condition is method name should be same. Name should be same. Here constructor should always be the class name. So if I try to write here an animal, it's not a constructor. If you want to write a constructor here, you need to write dog, right? Dog with different parameters. This is what called dog constructor. So you cannot override constructors. Overloading can be possible with constructors as it happens within the same class, but overriding is not possible. Constructor overriding not possible. Make sense? Agreed? Okay. Now, so let me say what I will do. I'll remove everything here. I'll create a dog object. Okay. Dog D equal to new dog. What is the output that you are expecting? Ideally, if you don't know anything concepts behind, you think it doesn't display anything. Let's try out. It displayed I am the animal. How come this one got triggered? When you try to call this guy, how come this one got triggered? I know I am extending the animal class, but what is the relation between this guy and this guy? That is where super comes into picture. What happens is, in this program, when you compiled this program, and if you try to open that compiled program using decompiler, you can see when you compilation completed and compilation successfully completed, you can see a keyword called super here. A method called super will be inserted by default. If you don't insert anything, a super will be the first line of your constructor. If you don't write anything, or even if you write something, that the first line will be inserted by construct JVM. Let's say I will call it as SYSOUT, and I am the dog. Okay. So ideally it should display only I am dog, but what it displayed? First it displayed I am the animal, and then I am the dog displayed. So what happened here is the first thing is super will be automatically added by constructor by JVM. So now assume, so you call dog, here you call dog, and then it called first super. So it goes to super, it displays here. Once it is done, it comes back here. Once it is done, it comes back here, and then it displays this one. Make sense? Are you guys confusing? Next question it may trigger in your mind is, why it triggered this method, why it didn't trigger this method or this method? Because in order to trigger these methods, you need to have a parameter. As by default, the super is doesn't carry any methods, any parameter. If you want to, you can send it like this. 20. Now see, I am the animal with weight 20. I am the dog. So this time this one triggered because the argument parameter is triggered. This argument super has been triggered. This animal with weight parameter. And if I say here dog, I am the animal, belong to dog category, I am the dog. Of course the English doesn't make sense, but generally I am saying. You guys understand super? So if you want to trigger any of the superclass methods or superclass constructors, then the default value will be inserted by the JVM. Else, if you can want to insert, you can insert explicitly. The first line of statement constructor should be super. If you try to write here, it gives an error. First you write something blah 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 and you try to write here, it gives an error. This should be the first line of your constructor. Super should be the first line of constructor or first line of method. Agreed? Makes sense? That's all about super. Same thing, you can use it for let's try out here. I forgot it. I think something you can do here. Super dot. The constructor you can do, but this one also is something has been allowed. I'll check this one. Method level, forget about for now. Constructor can be used within the constructor. Sorry, super will be used within the constructor, and it should be first line of the constructor code if you want to write. Else by default, super will insert a default JVM will insert a default super method into default constructor. Okay, clear? Okay, nice. Next one is, let's come back here. We finished this piece. I forgot again. We finished this piece. We finished new package import as well, right? New import. Import is something like, you know, if you want to import certain classes outside the package, you can do import. Yeah, this one is finished. Static return void is finished. This one is finished. Final super default. This is finished. Okay. This piece we can take another class. This piece we need to do today. Somebody asked something. How to disable super? How to disable super is not possible if you are extending. This is the super class, right? If you are extending, by default you will get the super behavior. Like, you know, let's say if you don't extend, then only you can avoid super. That is the only option. Even though you don't extend, there is another concept of object and object class, built-in class, and there is different thing. You cannot. Okay. Next thing is where is the concepts? Abstract and interface. Let's tackle those two. Okay. In the same concepts, like, you know, what you call it, overloading, overriding, inheritance concept. I mean, overloading, inheritance, overriding, polymorphism in those same lines. There are two things again comes into picture is abstract and interface. Okay, let's focus on abstract. What is an abstract? Abstract is a keyword that is used next to the class to say a particular class has an abstract, certain methods are abstract. Simple way, abstract class is a class which should which may or may not contain abstract methods, which may not contain abstract methods and concrete methods. In simple terms, I can tell you like this. Let's do a program. That is the better. Car. Okay, I'll take a car. Abstract demo. Can I use something interesting? Let me check if I have anything handy. Yeah, I tried same thing. Car only. Yeah, it's interesting. Class car. Okay. This has, let's say, void. So basically what you can say, car. Car, when you are defining an object, the first things comes into mind is it runs on the road, it runs on gas, electricity, blah blah blah, and it has steering, it helps to travel, it has based on the type, it has 5-seaters, 7-seaters, 3-seaters, it will have an engine and it will have a trunk, can hold moonroof, it has windows, it has AC, it has FM. These all things together you can call it as a car, right? Some things are like luxury, some things are the basics. Without them you cannot call as a car. Like if you see a vehicle with 3 tires, can you call them call it as a car? No. So that is the impression that has been there in your mind, right? So same thing when you are defining an object. Same thing, let's define engine runs on. Okay, void engine runs on. I'll say SYSOUT on gas. Nice. So next thing is every car has some model, right? So I'll say void model or make. Now tell me what is the implementation I can give here. Do you want me to put BMW or do you want me to put or Honda? Do you want me to put Audi? You don't know. When you are defining the car, you don't know what kind of model it is, right? BMW, when BMW decided to make a car, first thing BMW does, it looks at the definition of the car. It looks at definition of the car, and then if he thinks he can do something better around without violating the car definition, right? You cannot make a truck and say that is a car and you are not fool the people, right? You still need to make a car with the definitions that the car is having. The basic 4 definitions are: it should have 4 wheels, it should take carriers, and it should run on something, it should run on something, and it should have AC, it should have 5-seat or something like that. This is some seater, like some seat should be there. Okay, it should have a gray gear and it should have brake, it should have steering. These are the basic car definitions, right? And if Audi want to make a car, then he will make a car, and then he will, what he will do, he will improvise, like, by using the more awesome material for the tires, or the awesome leather seats, or like, the steel that he uses is like, as stronger as, like, nobody can beat him in the competition, kind of thing. These he can improvise, but he can still stick to the definition of the car. So here, if you look at here, you cannot fit in the make here. You agreeing my point? You cannot fit in the make here. All you can say is a car can be made by someone all the time. It cannot be made just like that. A car can be made by someone. It cannot be made something just like that. Even if I made a car, I can say, like, with my name, Koga's car, right? So every car will have some make. That is my car definition. Every car runs on something. That is my car definition. So with these two definitions, I defined a car. But as I cannot provide a definition, this for engine runs on, I gave a definition, like, in my mind, if it runs on electricity, it's not a car for me, what I'm saying, okay, for this example. So I provided this definition. So the definition has been defined: engine runs on gas. But make, I cannot able to provide. At car definition, I cannot able to provide the definition of make. So what I will do, I will let decide the brand. I'll let decide the brand of the, I'll let the maker of the car, I'll let decide the maker of the car, decide the make, who is the model and make, and let me call it as a model. Okay, so it's easy for me. I'll let decide the maker of the car, decide the model of that name, name of that car, model of that car, right? So in that scenarios, when you have certain definitions with you, and when you don't have certain definitions with you, okay, when you have some definitions and when you don't have some definitions, then you can go for an abstract class. Then you can go for an abstract class. So what are the rules, right? The next thing comes into mind is, what are the rules? What are the, what are the rules that has been there, right? So the rules are, you need to use, first thing is, abstract class is a class with the keyword which should may or may not contain abstract methods and concrete methods here. And then, so this is called abstract method. This is called abstract method, where you don't have a definition. This is a concrete class. This is concrete method. Pardon with my terminology. This is a concrete method. So, and this is the abstract method, where you don't have a definition. Concrete methods have a definition. So when you have a combination of concrete methods and abstract methods, then you better go for an abstract class. Okay. And when you are unable to implement the method, then make that method as abstract. So if you want to use the abstract for any methods that you don't have a definition, then you must use abstract to the class. That's it. So when you don't have a definition of any of the methods that you are providing, then you need to make that method or that definition as abstract. And when you use the abstract to the method, then you must make your class as abstract class. Okay, that's well and good. I'll follow it. So what is the use? So next thing is somebody has to implement, right? Now the makers comes into picture. So I'll say somebody comes like, I am BMW maker. Okay, BMW want to make a car. When you want to make a car, what you need to do? You need to take the definitions that has been there for the car. Extends car. So now he is taking the definitions of the car. So he took the one definition, that is engine runs on. What about this? There is no definition defined. There is no logic defined for this model. Here BMW maker must provide the definition for that model, that abstract model. Okay, agreed? Or else he can make his class as abstract, otherwise this error doesn't go. So one way is void model I am BMW model. Okay, this way whoever want to provide the definition for this model by extending car, they can provide their own way. Let's say another one called call class Audi extends car. Okay, so now Audi says like this overrides void method, and you can say I am the Audi model, or else if it doesn't know, Audi has sub let's say Honda. Okay, Honda doesn't have definition. Let's say Honda also can't say he cannot say the model. Then what he can do? He can say abstract class again until somebody provides the definition. Whoever extends the abstract class should keep on extending with the abstract. So now let's say I can call it as class Acura. Red spell cut Acura. Now I will say Acura extends, give 1 second. Acura extends car. Either I can make this Acura as abstract, or I need to provide a definition. I am the Acura model. You see what I'm saying? Either you can make, if you want to extend an abstract class, either you can implement the abstract methods that you have, or else you can make that class as an abstract, and whenever you have definitions ready, provide the definition. Here you can say Honda. Sorry. Are you guys confusing? Is there any confusion here? So simple thing is, when you are unable to implement the methods, when you are unable to provide the body of the method, make the method as abstract. When you are writing more than one or more abstract methods in the class, we should make that class abstract. But it doesn't mean that you should have always abstract methods to call a class is abstract. Still it works. You can have all concrete methods, you can still call it as abstract method, abstract class. You can have all concrete methods with abstract class is possible if one or more abstract methods defined, one or more abstract methods, then you must make class as abstract class, where you are saying I have, but you are conveying to the world, like, I'm still a class, but I have some abstractions, abstract methods. Whoever want to use me, they want to provide some definitions. Okay, if you extend abstract method, abstract class, then you must provide a definition. You must implement, okay, you can say implement the abstract method, or extend the, if you extend abstract class, then you must provide an implementation. You must provide an implementation to the abstract method, or make class as abstract, which means either you can do this by providing definition, or make the class as, if you are not able to provide, then make the class as abstract. Okay, and if you have more than one abstract method in the abstract class, you must implement all the abstract methods. Otherwise, you need to make that class as abstract. Let's say I have here not only model, I have like something abstract void design or something. Then all these will give error. You need to implement that one as well. Add unimplemented method. So this will be override. Here also add unimplemented method. Either you can write explicitly, or you can use the Eclipse support. Okay, makes sense. Agreed. So remember these three terms. Okay, this is called abstract. Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything in the definitions? Let me check. Very good. Last one is last one for today. Okay, I'll move this way. Yeah, another important point is when you make a class abstract, right? When you make a class abstract, you cannot create an object for that class. You cannot create a class for that object, because you are not fully defined that class. If you don't define fully, how can you be able to create an object for that? What is the use of creating an object for that, right? If you create an object for this guy, BMW maker, it makes sense because he is providing all the definitions that has been required. But here you cannot create an object for the car, object for car, because it's an abstract class where it doesn't have some definitions. Without having definitions, what is the point in creating an object, right? But remember, but you can create a reference variable. You can create a reference variable of car, but you cannot create an object for the car. What does it mean? Car C equal to car C, you can write, it will allow, okay, but new car is not allowed. Not allowed. Allowed. Reference variable you can create. Reference variable of abstract class can be created, but object cannot be. Object of abstract class not allowed. Okay, let's give it right here. Car C equal to new car. Says cannot initiate the type C, but you can do is what car reference variable can hold is its child objects, right? Parent can hold child. So I can say new BMW maker. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so this is all about abstract class. There is another concept called interface. Another concept called interface. This is important and you can see every day in your day-to-day programs. Okay, I'll explain the concept. If you have time, you can do the program, or else you can do tomorrow. So interface, right? Like same thing. Let's say let's take it as is. Let's say I'll call vehicle. Okay, I call an object called vehicle. So can you provide any definitions for vehicle? Can you say a vehicle should be 4 tires? Then what we are going to call 3 tires, 2 tires, no tires? Or can we say a vehicle runs on gas? Nope. Without gas also we can have vehicles, right? Bike is motorcycle is runs on human energy, and Tesla car runs on electricity, right? Battery. Then can we say vehicle runs carries travels on the road? No, you cannot, because ship is a vehicle. It goes on water. Plane is a vehicle. It goes on air. But if you say, can I say animal is a vehicle? Can I say you as a vehicle? Can I say myself as a vehicle? No, right? If you sense it, there is something is there for vehicle, but we don't have a definition. Something is there for vehicle, but we don't have a strong definition. Something is there, right? That is called a specification. That is called a specification. You just say something is like, you can say wheels should be there. Vehicle is, when you say vehicle, wheels should be there. You cannot say how many wheels. Sense it. I mean, focus. Just couple of words. Okay, don't get confused. I know you may be exhausted already, but just focus another 3 to 4 minutes. What I'm saying, okay? Vehicle has some specification, like, it should have some tires, or it should have some wheels. You may feel it. Sometimes some vehicles may not have wheels, and it should take you somewhere to some place to another place, right? Either it's by road, either it's by air, either it's a ship. It should take you, right? It should make your life comfortable, right? And what we can say, it should have some engine, or else, like, it should have some process, like, you should put human energy there, or, like, some energy need to be focused. In order vehicle should work, some energy need to be focused. It should be a combination of certain elements, like, steel and leather and rubber, all this combination. It should combination of something, but you cannot say, like, yo, this much of rubber should be there, this much of leather should be there, this much of steel should be there. You cannot say, but you can say that should be there, like any plane or something, right? What I'm trying to say here is, like, a specification is there, but you don't have a definition. In that scenarios, you can go for an interface where you don't have a definitions, but you have a specification. Okay, important keyword is specification. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, I have a vehicle and I have a specification called wheels. I have a specification called engine. Okay, but I don't have a definition of engine, I don't have a definition of wheels, a number of wheels, or blah blah blah. But whoever uses me, let's say ship, plane, truck, bike, car, they must provide, right? But wheels, so you will say ship doesn't read wheels, and it should have some speed also, right? Some specification, vehicle should have some speed. So wheels, no wheels required for ship. So ship can provide a definition for wheels. A plane can provide a definition for wheels, 2 wheels or 1 wheel or whatever wheels. Truck can provide like 8 wheels. Car can provide 4 wheels. So it is able to provide the definition for wheels. Oh, nice. Engine, ship can provide an engine. It can provide, let's say, plane can provide a engine. Yeah, it can provide, like, plane engine. Truck can say engine, it can provide definition. Car also can say engine, also it say. But here another interesting thing is speed. Ship can provide a speed definition? You cannot, because a ship's speed can vary, right? There are different kind of ships are there, right? So some ships can take you to 50, some ships can go for 100, some ships go for 20. So what is the definition you can provide here? You cannot. If you cannot provide, what you can say? It is an abstract ship. Because you can provide some definitions, you cannot provide the speed definition. Here also plane, you cannot, jet planes can go on speed, jumbo flights or like regular flights and international flights, every flight has its own speed, right? So you cannot provide a definition for speed. So you can make this class as an abstract, and you can provide engine definition, wheels definition, but don't provide the speed definition. Truck also same thing, car also same thing. So what I'm trying to say is, vehicle you cannot provide any definition at all. If you are not able to provide any definitions but you have some specification, then you can call it as interface, where you have complete abstract methods. Where you have complete abstract methods, then you can call it as vehicle. Then you can call it as interface. Interface is a fully abstract class, simple way, where you have complete abstract class where there is no concrete methods. Understand what I'm saying? Interface, how to implement, right? Next thing is, how to implement interface in Java. That is what I have some definition noted down. Give me 1 second. Let me try to see if I can able to find. Where did I kept? Rather than using junk keywords, just want to use proper ones. Or else leave it the definitions. We'll see later. Let's write a class. Okay, so now see, there is a separate concept called interface. Along with class, there is a concept called interface. But what I will do, first I'll create a class, interface demo, and here I can say interface vehicle. Okay, makes sense. Now I can say void engine and void speed, void, what is the example we take, speed engine wheels. This is my vehicle definition, right? But if you observe, right, you are not mentioning abstract anywhere, but still you didn't get an error, even though it's a dummy method. As I said earlier, you need to use abstract keyword, but here we are not seeing that keyword abstract. By default, when you write void engine in interface, it is converts into, when it's converting, public abstract. This one is as much as equal to void engine in interface. These two keywords are by default inserted by JVM for you while doing the compile. Okay, so this is my definition, my specification for vehicle. Now I can say abstract class plain, and another one is abstract class car, abstract class bike. So how do you, first thing is you need to extend, right? Anything if you want to get the functionality, but you are not getting the functionality, you are getting the specification. If you want to extend, if you want to get the features of the specifications of the interface, you need to get those specifications using the keyword called implements vehicle. Getting my point? So what I will do, I'll take this all as is. Abstract, you can provide the definition for engine, right? So SYSOUT plain engine. Sorry, you can, by default it is public, right? So it should be public. You know overriding concept, right? We are doing overriding, same method we are using between two. That is overriding. So scope should be higher or same. SYSOUT. Yeah, you cannot, you don't know the speed. It varies, right? Depends on the plane. So you don't want to provide. But you need to make public abstract. Void wheels. You can provide the definition for wheels. 9 wheels. Right? 1 second. Huh? So wheels, right? So now wheels. You can provide the definition for wheels, so you can provide the scope as well, public. Because by default these are public, right? So you can provide the same scope. You may think like there is a default scope, but the default is public abstract. This is nothing but, so either you can define in abstract. Okay, so this is the way. And so now next one is car. Same thing, implements. You can take all this implementation and we can change keywords. Okay, implements. Let's take 2. Okay, we can see that remaining. Abstract class car is already defined. Okay, car 1, maybe in another class it's giving tough. Or else you can define bike. What is that, right? Bike engine, 2 wheels, and you don't know the speed because bike will vary. So who will provide the specific definition for this speed? Whoever want to extend this plane, Boeing will extend plane and they will say all my Boeing will go with the speed of 300 miles per hour. So let's say this guy, class Boeing, now extends, because you are extending abstract class, not implementing vehicle, right? Extend plane. All you need to do is provide an implementation. That's it. So SYSOUT 330 miles per hour, right? So Boeing get the behavior of the plane is getting the behavior from the implementation of specification of the vehicle, right? This is specification. This is how vehicle should be. Vehicle should have, when you are calling a vehicle, this should have these 3. It should have some engine, it should have some speed, it should have some wheels or something like that. And when you're defining the plane, Yes, you can provide a plane implementation, I mean engine implementation, wheels implementation, like it how it flies, and what is the parabolic, and how much curve it should be, how much speed it should run before flying. All these definitions you can provide here, but you cannot provide the speed, because speed varies between the different plane based on the plane that we use. Somebody uses like jet plane, right? Somebody uses like same thing, class jet plane. They also use same thing, and they will say 100 miles per hour, right? Whoever is ready to provide the definition, you can let them to provide if you don't have the definition with you, but you can always define the specification, right? When you want to extend, when you want to get the specifications into your class, you need to do what you need to do? Implements. You can implement. Okay, that's all for now. If you have any doubts, please update there. I'm happy to explain you guys. I think couple of guys already dropped.